This is Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, brought to you by the Iowa Soybean Association, your daily recap of the information that affects Iowa's farmers, producers, and consumers, right here in the heart of the heartland. With reports from our award-winning broadcast team of Dustin Hoffman and Riley Smith. Now, from the IARN studios in Des Moines, here's Riley Smith.
Good day and welcome to Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Riley Smith. Today is Friday, April 29th, 2022. We're so glad you can join us for today's episode. In today's show, I'll be wrapping up my coverage from last week's USChina High-Level Agricultural Dialogue with the rest of China Ambassador Qin Gang's comments. And as always, we'll take a look at the ag weather outlook. But for right now, let's check out the ag market recap.
It's time now for the Ag Matters PM Closing Market Summary, your source for market analysis and settlement prices from the day's trade in Chicago, courtesy of the folks at agmarket.net.
It's time now for the Ag Market Recap here on Ag Matters PM, and today we're talking with Bill Biedermann of agmarket.net. Bill, how are we doing today?
We're doing real good. Thanks for letting me on the show.
Absolutely. So, Bill, just give us a little rundown of how the markets have closed today.
Well, the market ended up giving back a lot of the gains in the corn and actually is trading a little bit lower right just prior to the close. And the soybeans did what they finally should have done, and that was November ended up a smidge lower. So the reason that the corn market was strong is the obvious concerns about the weather and the fact that we're crossing that XY line to where any further delays in planting will really reduce the odds of a record yield that we need in order to meet pipeline supply. In fact, the 180 bushel per acre number that everybody's predicting is low odds to begin with because, number one, it's 3 bushels above all of the previous record, which that's a pretty hard stretch to find in history, as well as 2 consecutive records in a row. We had a record yield last year, and they're expecting another one this year. That's a really low odds to find. So this corn market's going to find good support on breaks, in our opinion, until A, we can confirm that there was acres that exceeded USDA's estimate, and B, that we really do have the chances of a record yield. Both of those odds right now with the weather forecast look low. So that could mean more acres for beans, and that's why the beans ended up a smidge lower in the new crop.
So with those corn prices, we've seen some really nice high levels right now, but of course, if we get more of those delays, like you said, the yields will be lower. So how will we see, with lower yields but higher prices, how can we see those profits kind of get back to Iowa farmers?
Well, we're going to see, that's a good question, because profits are derived by product, right? And if you don't have the yield, then you don't have the product to sell. It doesn't matter how high we go if you don't have the product. So this is where 2 things come in. Insurance comes into play, and being a smart marketer where you lock in a floor price, but you leave the upside open. And there's several ways you can do that with different tools in the cash market. We do it mostly with either buying a put rather than making a cash contract where you could be held for delivery, or it could be a deal where you're making some sales and you're buying a call against it. So there's different ways that you need to educate yourself to where you can have the flexibility of A, no delivery, and B, having the ability to gain on upside momentum as we go into the summer. I got to tell you, I've been doing this for 42 years, and I don't think I've ever seen a situation where the importance of getting a record yield is sitting on the books the way it is this year. So this is going to be a year where I suspect huge volatility going into summer weather.
Right, and you mentioned that we could see, higher planted soybean acres, and especially with that palm oil ban we saw from Indonesia, and then the high demand then for soy oil. Can we see some good profits there as well in the soybean department?
There's great profit opportunity growing these beans right now, and the corn. As far as doing the marketing. But again, you should probably keep the upside open. Maybe not so much on the beans as you do on the corn. But both commodities provide great income potential for the farm right now. Like going back to corn, we were locking in over $400 an acre minimum, and that's after all costs, keeping the upside open on our strategy. In beans, it's not quite that kind of money, but it's really good profitability here when we've got beans trading at over $15 on new crop. So there's nothing to shy away from. One thing about the bean market, it doesn't have that upside potential like corn does. In all the scenarios that we run, we will end up with a larger carryover in new crop soybeans than we do in corn, unless, of course, there's just a massive drawdown on yield this year. But I do want to point out that the profitability in the industry to use beans and crush them is really good. I mean, our crush is profitable to crush. We've got a lot of cattle going into the feed yards right now. We've got a lot of cows and calves coming off of grass because of the drought. Those animals are going to need to be fed. So, barring an economic collapse that'll just continue to pressure the livestock sector, we see good demand out there for meal. And like you mentioned, the Indonesia thing is driving the oil market up. Therefore, the crush margins on these beans is pretty good right now.
And then speaking of the livestock, how did those markets fare at the end of the day?
Well, not very good. The cattle markets are down $1, and a quarter. The feeder cattle markets are down around $2, mostly because of the fears of the corn market being a lot stronger next week when we come in if the weather verifies. On top of that, like I mentioned, the drought out west is putting pressure. There's a lot of cattle at auction right now. There's a lot of pairs being sold, a lot of calves up for sale. So that's putting pressure on everything. And then on top of that, you've got the implications or the possibilities or perception, I should say, that the Chinese economy is really slowing down. They're our number one, they're a large importer of U.S. beef and pork. And, we've got a little extra tonnage to deal with on our side as these animals move in through the slaughter chain. And on top of that, we've got some concerns about economic slowdown. And if that slowdown dominoes into the U.S. economy, that would put further pressure on it. So there's a little reason to be negative. These cattle right now, charts also have a negative formation on them, but we're hoping that we get down to the support point and that we start seeing some chart support come in.
And what do we see in hogs as well?
Pretty much the same thing. Now, the difference between the cattle and the hogs is that the hogs have clearly violated chart support. So the hog market does project down about another $5 on the charts. Whether or not that can reverse next week and turn around, we'll have to see. The market will be getting oversold another $1 or $2 down. So hopefully we'll see the chart boys come in and buy that thing. I mean, people have to eat. We're not talking about gym shoes here. You don't have a choice of whether you can buy it or not buy it. You got to feed that family.
All right, Bill, lots of great information today. For those of our listeners who would like to learn more, how can they get in touch with you at agmarket.net? Yeah, so the easiest way, of course, is to just go to our website, which you just said is agmarket.net, and sign up for some of our free reports and videos. But if you want to give us a call, it's 844-4-AG-MARKET, and we'll be happy to visit with you. All right, thanks, Bill. It was great talking to you, and we hope to see you again soon. Okay, take care. That again was Bill Biedermann of agmarket.net. We'll go ahead and take a look at how the numbers close. That's courtesy of the folks at Bar Chart. At the close, July corn went unchanged at $8.13.5. December corn down half a cent at $7.51 1/4. July soybeans also unchanged at $16.84 3/4. November soybeans down 6 1/4 at $15.14 3/4. Soybean meal up $2.20 at $4.32.30. Soybean oil down $2.42 at $84.18. Chicago wheat down 30 1/4 at $10.43 3/4. Minneapolis spring wheat down 29 1/4 at $11.61 1/4. Kansas City hard red wheat down 42 even at $10.94 1/4. And May oats down 17 1/2 at $6.75 1/2. On the Merc, June live cattle down $1.25 at $132.65. Feeder cattle down $1.97 at $171.42. May lean hogs down $3.07 at 190 cents. June pork cutout down $5.27 at $112.82, and May Class 3 milk down 13 cents at $24.47. And that's been a check of the Ag Market Recap here on Ag Matters PM. We're going to go ahead and take a quick break and hear from our sponsors, the Iowa Soybean Association and the Soy Checkoff. When we come back, I'll be wrapping up my coverage of last week's U.S.-China high-level agricultural dialogue. This is Ag Matters PM.
Iowa Soybean Association is driven to deliver for Iowa's 40,000 soybean farmers. We're proud to provide objective agronomic research, a helping hand with soil and water stewardship, and timely industry news powered by the Soybean Checkoff. Learn more at iasoybeans.com.
Welcome back to Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. Today I'm finishing my coverage of last week's U.S.-China high-level agricultural dialogue with the rest of the comments from China's ambassador to the U.S., Qin Gang. Throughout his speech, Gang mentioned the old friends they have in Iowa, but he also talked about the Iowa State University students in attendance, the future ag industry leaders, and how they will reap the benefits of a stronger relationship between the U.S. and China.
My thanks also go to old friends like Ambassador Branstad, Ambassador Green, Sarah Landy, Luca Baron, for your warm receiving of President Xi Jinping, and for your cultivating and nourishing this friendship tirelessly for so many years. So I have seen that the friendship has borne more fruits. Looking at those young students, so they are the beneficiaries of the friendship and the cooperation, and they are the future. So I'm very happy to have you all here.
Speaking more on his trip to Iowa, Gang said that he was almost overwhelmed by how friendly and hardworking the U.S. farmers are, which he said is very similar to the farmers back in China. He added that it was inspiring to see U.S. farmers continue to use newer, climate-safe farming practices.
In my current event visit at the Golden Corn Belt, I went to a dry mill, ethanol, and the DDGS facility, and the dairy farm. I have felt keenly from them how nice and sincere, how friendly and hardworking American farmers are. Just the same as Chinese farmers. I have also come to know that the U.S. agriculture is going through low carbon and the green transformation, where farmers apply advanced technologies and methods for carbon capture and storage, and use quality feeds to reduce methane emission. It's very thought-provoking, very inspiring. China has set the targets of reaching carbon peak before 2030 and carbon neutrality before 2060. To realize these targets, it is necessary to utilize advanced technologies, experience, and the seeds to address climate change in agriculture. So this will definitely create new opportunities for China-U.S. agricultural cooperation.
Gang also dove into the dirt of the trade details between China and the U.S. and said that they've seen a lot of growth recently and hope to see more.
Ladies and gentlemen, in the past 2 years, China has made tremendous efforts to fully implement the Phase 1 trade deal. Despite the pandemic, we have not used the force majeure clause and have even adopted a market-based exclusion process for the countermeasures tariffs on U.S. soybeans, grains, meat, aquatic products, and fruits. This fully shows China's sincerity and goodwill. In 2021, our agricultural trade reached $46 billion, hitting a record high. And China's agricultural imports from the U.S. stood at nearly $40 billion, a growth of 65% from an already high base in 2020. Such a rate was way higher than the 29% growth of China's agricultural imports from the world, and also much higher than the 23% growth of U.S. export to the world. According to the U.S. Export Report 2022, recently released by the USChina Business Council, as China implemented the Phase 1 trade deal, U.S. farmers exported billions of dollars more in oilseeds and grains, and over $1 billion more in meat production, which improved the well-being of farmers in America's heartland. The growth in these exports provides thousands of new jobs to more than a dozen congressional districts. Iowa's 4th, Kansas' 1st, and Nebraska's 3rd districts all had increases of more than 5,000 jobs. Facts have proved that China-US economic and trade relations are win-win in nature. And to restore normal trade ties between the two countries as soon as possible is the shared call of both sides, particularly farmers.
Before we cover the rest of Ambassador Gong's comments, we're going to take a quick break and look at the ag weather outlook. Well, today has been full of rain, and more rain. And like we talked about in the ag market recap, it's going to stick around for a while yet. Let's see what the National Weather Service has in store for the state of Iowa. As you can see here from the National Weather Service, rain is the story of this weekend. Today, showers and thunderstorms are likely across the state with highs ranging from 62 to 70. Tonight, thunderstorms are likely statewide. Lows overnight should range from 50 to 57. Tomorrow, it's the same old song and dance with chances of showers and thunderstorms across the state again. Highs will range from 56 to 71. Looking at the affiliate weather map right now, as you can see for tomorrow, Cherokee will see rain showers and will be at the low end of temps with a high of 56. Shenandoah also looking at showers and thunderstorms with a high around 61. Des Moines expecting some rain and a high of 59. Albia showers and 65. Waterloo once again showers and 59. And Clinton, big surprise, chance of showers and setting the higher end of the range of temps at 71. For more detailed forecasts in your part of the state, check with your local Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network affiliate. And that's been a check of the Ag Weather Outlook. When we come back, we'll wrap up Ambassador Gong's comments from last week. This is Ag Matters PM. As we approach planting season, make sure you stay safe and share the road with your local farmers. Slow-moving tractors with large planters occupy a lot of space on the road, so stay patient and follow at a distance of around 50 feet. You should never, ever try to pass them at a bridge, intersection, hill, or curve. It's far better than putting yourself or someone else at risk. So please, stay safe and remember to tip your hat to your local farmer this planting season. This message was brought to you by your friends at the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. Welcome back to Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. Towards the end of his speech, China Ambassador Qin Gang talked about food security. Food security is always a priority for any country, but it is particularly important for a country as large and populous as China. Gang said that it's not just important to simply feed their citizens, they all must be fed well.
Ancient Chinese wisdom believes that agriculture is the foundation of the world. Dr. Norman Borlaug, an Iowa native and Nobel Peace Prize laureate, also said, "Food is the moral right of all who are born into this world." With 1.4 billion people, securing food supply mainly by ourselves is the most important thing we can do for global food security. We must not only feed them, but we must feed them well. At the same time, we never turn our back on international markets and resources, because we want to feed our people well. We want to diversify their food plates. The door of Chinese market is open to the world. China and the US are naturally compatible and complementary with each each other in agricultural trade, and our potential for agricultural cooperation is unlimited. We need to deepen economic and trade cooperation, promote two-way and normal agricultural trade, remove existing barriers such as additional tariffs, and create a stable business environment for the industry. We need to strengthen cooperation in science, technology, and education, focus on sustainable development, reinforce technological support, and cultivate young agricultural scientists and technicians. We need to set up policy and information exchanges, restore the agricultural dialogue mechanism as soon as possible, and to enhance communication. We need to build up international synergy and play a due role as major countries in safeguarding global food security. As we face a complex and a severe situation in agricultural development and food security worldwide, I firmly believe that China and the US, as major agricultural producers, consumers, and traders, should meet challenges together, maintain stable development of agriculture, enhance the resilience of agricultural supply chains, ensure food security domestically, and promote cooperation for international food security. This will certainly be helpful for maintaining world peace, promoting global economic development and social stability, and delivering sustainable development. Let's bear in mind, no food, no stability, no peace. That's the value of the good work of Ambassador Qin and your colleagues of World Food Prize.
In his closing remarks, Gang said that he was touched by the heartfelt support he felt from Iowa farmers, and he said that his heart goes out to them as well.
Ladies and gentlemen, I toured the Hall of Laureates before speaking here, and saw all the names of the World Food Prize laureates. One of them was being known Chinese agricultural scientist, Mr. Yuan Longbing. Mr. Yuan once famously said, "Be a good seed." This was not only the cause of his lifetime, but also a portrayal of his integrity and the big heart as a president. With Mr. Yuan's teaching in mind, I have come to Iowa, the heart of America, and the warmth and the friendship of the people in Iowa touches my heart, and my heart also goes to people of Iowa. As we have warm sunshine today, I believe farmers of Iowa will start to sow their seeds tomorrow. Let's work together in this sowing season for the future of China-US relations, for the well-being of our two peoples, and for becoming a good seed with heart. Thank you so much.
That wraps up our coverage of the US-China high-level agricultural dialogue, and it also brings us to the end of this episode of Ag Matters PM. You can find all of our content on our website at iowaagnet.com. You can also follow us on social media at Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram. You can also find our video content and previous episodes of AM/PM on our YouTube channel. Don't forget our free twice daily market podcasts on Apple, Amazon, Google, Spotify, and Podbean. From the IARN studios in Des Moines, I'm Riley Smith. On behalf of Dustin Hoffman, we thank you for watching. This has been Ag Matters PM.